So you've met someone who you're interested in being in a serious long-term relationship with, and you've made the classic prayer to God, which is, God, is this the person for me? Is this one of the people who could be the perfectly imperfect person to go on my faith journey with through this life romantically? That's your prayer. God is going to give you one of three answers. Let's talk about it today. Let's hit it. A friend very near and dear to my heart contacted me yesterday, and she told me that she's been dating for, quite some time now, right? Past couple of years, and has met some really wonderful guys who just at the end of the day, life, things just don't work out sometimes. What are you going to do, eh? It doesn't mean that the people who, things haven't worked out with in the past are, bad people or anything like this. Some people just have differences in values or different preferences and different love languages. And, the compatibility issue is a real issue to be able to have. And so now she's told me that, she's made what she considers to be the big prayer. And this is something that I've heard a lot of people do. And people really get in their heads about it, right? In terms of praying to God to tell them what they're looking for is a definitive answer to the following question. God, is this the person that I should spend the rest of my life with? That's the prayer, okay? And I think it's a very understandable prayer. All of us, every human being deeply desires security. It is absolutely essential. The fundamental need for women is security, and for men is stability, and they're very closely related, as you can imagine, and that question fills both of those needs. Women's fundamental question in life, the deep wound, is to get an answer to the question of, am I loved? And the deep, deep wound that every man has, the deep question that every man has about his life is, am I worthy? And again, this is a natural prayer question to be able to ask because it contributes to answering both of those deep questions for both men and women. And so oftentimes what we're looking for is just a clear binary answer. However, I find that there's really three answers to prayers like this. And I have to say that I think that there's these three answers to every prayer. I asked her, I got her on the phone and I said, what do you think the three answers are going to be? And she said, yes, no, and maybe. And I was just like, that is the most logical answer to that question that I have ever, I don't know how I didn't realize that, right? But those are her three answers. Those are not my three answers, okay? So let's say that we pray, let's say that there's somebody in our life or whatever, maybe you have somebody in your mind right now, maybe you've been praying this prayer, trying to figure this out, and you're not getting a lot of clarity. Sometimes when we're looking for clarity, we are looking for someone else to be able to take over our lives insofar as to take over the decision making for us, right? And although I do believe that God can do all things, and if God wanted to, that is something that would be possible. Never forget the role of free will here, okay? At the end of the day, here's the three questions that I think, right, when you pray on whether or not somebody is the right fit for you, okay? The first answer is yes. I have met a lot of people who are in very happy marriages, right, where the answer has been, yes, this is the person for you, okay? And I've met a lot of people who, even when they prayed this, didn't get an answer and ended up getting married and are equally as happy, right? So that would be number one, would be yes. And of course, for a lot of you who are praying this prayer, you would be delighted to hear a clear yes. Now, sometimes it's really hard to be able to differentiate, right, our own needs, wants, and desires. So our own inner dialogue from God, right? That it's just one of the most difficult things. The amount of intentionality you need to pray with, and also just the amount of time that you need to literally just be silent in solitude with God is so it can be a lot of time. And even though a lot of time doesn't have to be like 10 hours or 10 days or 10 months, sometimes 10 minutes of silence with God can feel like it's really stretching us, because in this day and age, with the proliferation of technology, and if I want to listen to a song, in 3 seconds I can get that exact song. I don't have to wait for it to come onto the radio again like I used to when I was a kid. You don't have to, let's say you go for a walk, right? Now when you go for a walk and you want to listen to your favorite theologian or whatever, put the podcast on. There you go. Right? You're in the car. If you don't want to listen to commercials, don't worry about it. Turn on Sirius XM or some kind of satellite radio. You don't have to worry about it anymore. We are in the age of instant gratification, and there are wonderful things about that. There really are. But there are also challenges created by that. And I remember I grew up at a time where we did have the internet, but we had like dial-up, right? And if you remember dial-up, it took forever to get onto the internet, but we were thrilled once we got on there. Right? These days, if the internet takes more than 10 seconds to connect, it's like the world is falling apart. Like, I feel it too. If the Wi-Fi is not working, like, I just get really annoyed. When ironically, it's just like, do you ever think about like how amazing Wi-Fi is? Just the concept of Wi-Fi, the fact that we have it, the fact that, I can hop on, type a few things in, type a question and get an answer? That's insanity. Right? It's the amount of knowledge or whatever that you can accumulate. It's just absolute insanity, right? But it's something where it has made it so that we're expecting everything so quickly that simply waiting even those 10 minutes to be able to get a response. Our mind is flooded with other things. It's flooded with work, etc. We don't allow ourselves the time to be able to hear the Spirit. Right? And to be able to truly commune with God. And think about any relationship in our life. Our most important relationship should not be with our spouse, it should be with God. And think about your spouse. If you literally just said, I'm too busy for you, I'm not going to spend any time with you. I'm just too busy. I want to spend time with you, and I will, but I don't have any time right now. I got to go. Sorry, honey. Yeah, I got to go. That's what we're doing to God. To the most important relationship in our life, we're saying, not now, I'll see you later. Sorry, I don't have time. I love you, but I don't have time right now. It takes time. It is so hard for human beings to be able to not have something physical in front of them and simultaneously to be able to worship and to be able to have a deep personal connection. Even though God not only deeply, deeply desires that with us, but ironically, in the past, if you look scripturally, you'll find a lot of examples of times, like for example, in terms of like the first king of Israel, right? The first king of Israel was Saul, right? So it's in book Samuel, right? So it's insane insofar as like God got the Jews out of Egypt, right? And then the Jews are like, okay, so we need a king. And God's like, I know, it's me, right? The one who got you out of Israel, I'm the dude. And they're like, yeah, we know, but we like a person. Like that would be great. And God's like, but God loves his children so much that he's like, listen, if that's what you need, then at least I'll choose the person or whatever. And he ended up choosing Saul. And of course, we all know how that went. That didn't go that well, right? So then we ended up getting David, who is just so beloved by God, but still was such an imperfect guy. He did some terrible things, right? I think it's beautiful that in the Old Testament, David did, was so loved by God, had this new covenant with God, but at the same time, he did some really awful stuff. And the fact that somebody is so loved by God, but still so broken, that is beautiful. And it should make us all not be ashamed to talk to God, because sometimes we don't feel good enough, to be honest with you. We don't feel deserving of perfect love. We say, who am I? Who am I to be deserving of that? And that makes perfect sense, right? So yes, the first answer to this question is yes. And that's a beautiful thing. And sometimes you gotta be really intentional. We gotta ask that question, right? Take the time to be able to listen to the answer. And sometimes, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not going to be an answer. Oftentimes, like, what shirt am I going to wear in the morning? I can pray to God what shirt and these sorts of things. But, God wants us to take responsibility for our lives. He gave us the kind of mental faculties that we have to be able to utilize them, right? For his good, for the good of his kingdom, right? But we have to use them. God's not, some puppet master stringing us along saying, yes, reach for that blue button up. That's the one for today, okay? That's not how it works, okay? So the second answer that you may get, if it's not a yes, is not yet. people move through their faith at different speeds. And even if you have two people who are at the same point in their walk with Christ, you can have two people who are at very different points in their lives at a different fundamental level. It is said that women have a biological clock. The same thing could be said in terms of men having a financial clock. I can't tell you the number of young men that I've talked to who have these just absolutely phenomenal partners and will tell me, Doc, listen, like, she really wants to get married and I want to marry her too, but the thing is, like, I want to be ready. Like, I want to feel prepared, and like, my job isn't where I want it to be. I don't own my own place. Some of them or whatever, like, I've even thought about moving back in with my parents, they'll say, to be able to save money for a down payment. I want to give her the best. I want to give her what I think she deserves, and I'm not there yet, but she wants to get married, and I don't know what to do, right? This may be a case where the answer is not a yes, but is rather a not yet. Not yet doesn't mean never. So often, we're so terrified, and I understand, at the idea of allowing something to go because we believe that essentially not only is it kind of gone forever, but that we will have lost out on something. But sometimes something just isn't right for us at a given time, okay? It doesn't mean that it won't be right in the future. At the same time, I want to caution you. And the reason I want to caution you is that you should not read into that and say, we just broke up, but that's okay because I don't have to work on myself. I don't have to work on anything. This is a not yet situation, and the person will come back and they'll be perfect again. This is not how it works, okay? All of us as individuals need to work on optimizing ourselves, okay? And remember the 7 dimensions of optimization that I teach, right? Optimize yourself in terms of physical health, mental health, your spiritual health, occupational, educational health, which includes finances. 3 kinds of social health, right? Your social relationship, romantic relationship health, your social health when it comes to family, and your social health when it comes to platonic relationships like your friends, okay? You have to optimize in those 7 areas. No other person can optimize for you. Far too often we date someone who's too much our opposite because they are more optimized in one area than we are, and instead of us saying, wow, I'd like to be like that, maybe if I'm with this person, we can go on that journey together, they can show me and then I can optimize. Instead they say, they're already optimized enough for us both. And then we become resentful of the other person and their perceivably greater capacity to optimize in that area. They got a 6-pack, you got nothing, right? You're just totally out of shape. Right? And ironically, even though you love that initially, you get really resentful. That person makes so much money, I make very little. They really know about business, I know nothing. Right? Initially, it's very attractive, and then we get resentful. It's not fair to your partner. That's not fair to your partner. So don't break up and then think to yourself, oh, well, it's okay because, the thing will eventually come, because that is not guaranteed. Even if you stay in it, even if you pray and the answer is not yet, and you say, okay, well, I'll just stay in this relationship, and you're just expecting everything to fix itself, that is not how things work. It is so uncomfortable to be able to have, conflict is the word, right? To be able to have conflict in relationships. But conflict is okay. Conflict provides the opportunity for growth. Right? It provides the opportunity for greater communication, and through communication, through healthy, compassionate communication, the capacity for greater understanding of your perfectly imperfect partner. There is no such thing as a perfect partner. This is why I do not believe in the concept of soulmates, right? Because a soulmate suggests that you have somebody who's perfect for you, right? And I do not believe that that is a thing, okay? So, those are the first 2 answers. Yes, not yet. The third answer, everybody thinks is no, this is not the person. I do not believe that God says no. I believe quite deeply that the third answer to the question of whether or not this person is the right person for me is God saying, I have something better. God is not saying, no, that's not the person, in this brusque manner, brushing the person off, saying you've wasted your time, whatever it is. What God is saying is, I have something better. Imagine like a little girl with a teddy bear, right? And Christ kind of leaning down, and behind his back, he's got one of those big teddy bears you get for, Valentine's Day or something like this, right? And he's saying like, sweetheart, like I need that. And the little girl clinging so tightly to it and saying, no, Like, this is like the only thing I have. This is the only thing that I've known. I can't give it up. And to have trust in God, that God has got us, that God says, I have something better. Trust me, I have something better. It's not a no. It's not saying, no, you will never have someone else. No, you will always be alone, right? That is not what it's saying. God is just saying that he has something better for us. And what a beautiful thing it is that God always has something new in some area of our life for us. What a blessing that is for all of us. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for the message today. I appreciate you and I love you as always. Please do me a big favor. It helps our channel grow. If you like this video, if you comment below, especially if you like the video, something about it you want to talk about, please let me know. It's a pleasure. If you're interested, please do share the video with your friends, with your small group, with your congregation. If you're interested in either one-on-one or group coaching with me when it comes to dating and attraction, please do feel free to contact me via the website below. And if you're interested in me coming out to be able to give a talk at your place of worship, it would be a pleasure, regardless of whether you're a Christian or not. As somebody who was an atheist most of my life, I like to think that I've got a journey that a lot of people can identify with, and I warmly welcome you to watch another video on this channel, which is my testimony, where I tell you a little bit about my personal journey. So please do feel free to check that out. But in the meanwhile, truly, whatever stage in life you find yourself, and if you are struggling to be able to figure out what to do right now in a relationship, please know that you're not alone. Know that you are so loved by God, and that you have Christian brothers like myself and Christian sisters who just think the world of you and are so grateful that we get the opportunity to spend time with you specifically. And I wish you nothing but the best for the remainder of your day. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed that episode and you'd like to see more original content, then please do click on one of the links right here. I hope to see you in the next one.